We have Sam Chandler, the other cohort in this, and we have an extra cohort tonight who is Marcia Moore. We're going to do some kicking around, like what the heck's going on in the world right now? How are you feeling? What have you been thinking? Are things harder now or more simple? So what do you think?
Yeah. What do you think?
Whoops.
Well, what do I think? Well,
Yeah.
Okay. I've been, honestly, I had a leg injury back in January, and I've been recovering from that. And then it went from the leg kind of to the back. So it's like I overcompensated with the leg, and it went to my back, and now I'm working on my back. And all of that I thought was just in response to the physical repairing of this leg, so to speak. But I've been feeling even beyond that, as far as there's just this lack of energy, and it just this 3D body just feels really, really sluggish, very heavy, and the energy feels like, and at the same time, I'm kind of I'm thinking, you know what, this is maybe kind of good, because I feel like there's something that's in the works here, as far as shifting gears and moving maybe out of this density, so to speak. So that puts a smile on my face. But getting up out of that bed every morning, I'm like, you got to be kidding me. And time has really been shifting gears too. I mean, like you have a loss of time, and then time speeds up, and then all of a sudden it's the end of the week, and then all of a sudden it's May, and you're like, wow, in fact, I had my sketchbook out, and I decided I'm not going to write down I used to write down the dates of all my sketches, and I'm like, I'm not writing time down anymore. I'm not writing dates, and I'm not focusing on time anymore. It's done. We're heading out of that linear stuff. So that's kind of my thing right now.
All right, still doing my stuff. Okay, sorry about that. But yeah, it's just been crazy. I mean, it feels to me like the past couple months, I'd say like 2 months, have just been just wild. Like, people have been crazy. My work's been absolutely crazy. And it's like people at my work, we've had 15 people quit at my work in the past 2 months.
Wow.
I just had a manager quit yesterday. And it's like everybody, when I ask them, I mean, there's some things going on that are out of our control. Like with the pandemic, it seems like a lot of people from California are moving up here, and it's driven the the housing prices out of the roof. I mean, it's crazy. So some people just can't afford to live here anymore. But I've noticed there's a lot of people that are just over being in the grind. You know, they're just tired of being in 9-to-5 corporate world, and they're like, yeah, put my notice in. I'm like, what are you going to do? They're like, I don't know, man. I'm just going to take a break. You know, it just seems like the pandemic shifted people's priorities, you know, and I don't know, and just the way people have been driving lately. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but everyone's just really, not everyone, but there's just so many aggressive drivers now. People have road rage all over the place, and like, so I've been trying to slow down and take breaths, but I keep getting caught up in it, you know, and I'm like, man, slow down. Like, I kind of like last year when it was a little bit slower.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of what's happening now. You know, COVID had a lot to teach us, and not just about our health, our physical health, but also about our spiritual and our emotional health. People who were in that grind and found out when you slow down, when you don't put so much into that part of your life, you have time for this other part of your life that was being pushed away and put on a shelf because you didn't have time. I got to work. I got to get this done. One of these days, I'm not going to have to do this anymore. And so, yeah, people are shifting. And I think part of the side effects of that people shifting to different areas is they bring their energy, and whatever their energy is, putting it out, it goes into an energy of a place. And if a place does not have a huge amount of transient people coming through, its energy settles. And that's what that is. Now, it can settle higher in vibration, or it can settle lower in vibration. And, you have this new energy that comes in, and, it's like going to school and you have this new student who comes. And this new student has all of this fun information, and they come in, and everything that was said, everybody that was friends, every class, everything changed because of that one person in the class, because people are looking at that person and they're either saying, oh, I like this person, or who does he think he is? Or, all those energies that we put out. And, I think that's a big part, of what's going on. We're having to learn to settle with new energies in the 3D when we really don't even want to be in the 3D. Right. And yet we still are here. So
yeah, I think those are really good points, Arla. That's your name, right?
Yeah. I think. What? Let me think. Yours is Marcia.
That's been kind of happening a lot too as of late. It's like there's so much with this organicness that's happening, and this exit of the linear. Mm-hmm. It's like things are just, you can get a little forgetful, and you can get this little fog going. Yeah. And that I don't see a lot of humans, to be honest with you. I work on my own, and I get out there and I see them, but I'm not like interacting with them like you are saying, like at work and everything. So I just know that when I in alone in doing that, sometimes I can go, what in the heck is going on? Even though when I know what's going on, it's just the physical aspect of it can get so heavy sometimes that you're like, wow, these are some really big changes. And I, to be honest with you, have just felt this over the last maybe 2 or 3 months. Last year prior was a whole different beast for me, in that I had to really kind of really step within again and find out who I am. And in doing that, really deal with some shadow work that was there, get that out of there, and find myself again. And in finding yourself, I think it's a wonderful thing, but at the same time, it's just like learning anything new again. You're going back to something that you used to know, or you're really finding yourself for the first time, and really figuring out that this whole conditioning of life, this whole game of life, maybe wasn't what it was wrapped up to be. And you're like, about that. You're like, wait a minute, I feel like I was lied to on many levels. I feel like I don't know the information that I should know. That has come through, like with the work that I do with like lost information, lost history. And how that could have been experiences that would have helped us as a group, as consciously a group. So Yeah, it's been really interesting, but I still smile more than I'm aggravated. I still think this is a humble time to be a human. I really do.
It is. It is.
Yeah, I agree.
It's, trying for me going through COVID and then coming full circle back to a home that I lived in for so many years. That was part of my soul, where most of everything that happened with me, with the Sasquatch people, was here. And yes, it did happen in other places, but this is where Indigo was. This was where I was in this total peace and happiness and understanding. And then boom, it's like that went somewhere and I had to leave this place. And I left so many things in this place because I had to go. It's what I was supposed to do. And then coming back to it, it's like, okay, now I've come full circle, but what's going on here? My body doesn't do what it did when I was here before. I mean, I've got 22 tomato plants planted, and I'm going, oh, wow. I used to plant 220. So now, no, but I can't do that. So, I asked myself, are you the same person that you were? Nope, not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. There's so much I've learned about this person, and I'm ready to let go of this 3D and experience the joys that are just right there. I mean, they're tangible for us now to feel if we get our 3D-itis out of the way and look to that. It's there, and it comes in moments of joy, moments of remembrance, moments of sadness. We begin to see that we are more than 3D, and it's definitely time for us to walk into the other, but we're still in this sludge that creates this out of focus thing that we try to go through. It clears out, and you can get glimpses of that total clear, and then you're fine, and then you feel the sludge again.
Yeah.
And for me, the sludge it's just all those energies. And if anything has changed in the past year through COVID, it was people's energies, their vibrations. Some of them went totally back the other way, and some gained more, but so many are wanting more. They're wanting to let go and allow themselves to live in a more sustainable way for their soul. And that creates in itself that vibration that is just phenomenal. So, it's a work in progress. And I talk to a lot of people, and I get the same thing. It's like I got too much in my mind. There's too much going on. I want to do this, but then I turn around and I'm doing something else, and I really haven't focused on anything. So, I wish I had this knob that I could fine tune those vibrations a little bit better. But, it's still part of our soul growth to go through this.
Our thoughts get in the way big time.
Oh yeah.
And I keep bringing up this leg because this leg was like the next process for me. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. I'm going to have to step into this a little bit deeper. I've got to go somewhere even deeper with this. And I've got to be laid up to do it. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. So I'm wondering if, Arla, and I know you went through a horrible accident a year or two ago, and I'm wondering if that was the tap in a horrible, it was a horrible physical thing, but I wonder if that was the tap that said, you got to get it back to where you need to hold space.
Yeah.
And now you're doing that. Do you think that was the push?
Oh, I definitely. And, you know, the interesting thing is, I don't know how many times I've told people when we've been talking, be specific. When you request something of the universe, be specific. Do not just throw it out there.
Oh yeah.
Get an answer.
Yeah, well, Matthew and I had said, you know, before, we need to get off this truck. We need to be at home. We, you know, no jobs appeared for him. It was like, what's going on? You know, we can't find anything. How are we going to get off this truck? And even though we loved being on it, being together, there was that knowledge that we can't do this anymore. We're not supposed to be doing it anymore. And so we're not doing it anymore. And that's something that we talked a lot about after the wreck. Was it brought us to where we were at that moment. It did take us off the road. It did give Matthew a job that he wouldn't have had we not come off the road. We came off the road after the wreck, and we were like, what are we going to do? How are we going to live? You know, we can't live in the cabin because neither one of us can even walk up the steps. Not alone that the bed is in the loft, and there's not enough room upstairs unless we take everything out for us to sleep down there. There's no running water. You know, there's water catchment. And so we were like, what are we going to do? You know, well, we're going to trust, you know. So thank goodness for my daughter that we could stay with her. And then other things happened. The fifth wheel, that was a positive and a negative. Everything that we've been through in this has been a positive and a negative. And vibrationally, it was the beginning of my big shakeup, literally. And you're exactly right. And that was the universe saying, okay, you're off the road now. Now, what are you going to do about it? You know, the ball's in your court, Arla. You know what you've always wanted to do for years and years. And then, boom, here I am on this land doing what I had always wanted to do with it, make it a place where people can come and feel safe and de-stress and connect with nature and just find some semblance of peace for them. And to teach all kinds of things and for other people to come and teach. So boom, here I am. But I'm not physically able to do all I need to do. So what happens here is people start coming forth, you know. The couple of girls that were here last weekend, they came to bring me an unbelievable amount of basket weaving material. It just is amazing. Well, they decided while they were here, oh, what do you need us to do while you're here? So I went through several things in my mind. And finally, it was like, if you would just clean up around the building I started before I left here, because that's my garden building. And they did. And it was like, it would have taken me a week every day of working to even get to the place that they got. And then I'm still in that sludge. Everything's light, things are happening, and then boom. Okay. All right, Arla's gonna sit here. And I'm not going to complain. I'm just going to let the energies do what it is that they need to do, because I'm in service here to the universe. I'm in service to myself and to others, and however the universe deems that I'm to be used. And I say all the time, I need clarity. There is so much to do here. What do I do first? And then, oh my gosh, I'm overwhelmed because there's so much to do. And so then my energy just gets scattered. And I'm thinking, oh, it would just be so wonderful if I could just work through all of this. And I am. And you are too, Sam. And you are too, Marcia. And many other people out there are doing the same thing. They just don't realize it. That when you're going through the sludge or the out of focus or physical things, there are so many people who are having breaks. They're getting all kind of bone breaks on their body. They're having other physical things. People that have never had anything, and like for you, it happened. You know, so what do you do with that? With all of this physical stuff, how do we take that and cleanse all that out and physically raise our vibrations too, so that our body heals in the manner that it can be healed? And it can. I have no doubt that at some point I'm going to be much better than what I am. Now, when I'm doing something and I'm outside and I'm groaning, that thought's hard to grasp. Or like for you, maybe, Sam, when you're sitting in traffic when there's not usually traffic.
Yeah.
You know, what's going on there? And for you, Marcia, when you wake up in the morning and go, oh, you know, it's out there for you. And because we question, we know the answers are coming. So that gets exciting for me, just knowing that so many people are saying, what the heck's going on? You know?
Yeah.
So we're all in this together. Everybody is. And that really helps me too, is to be a part of that with everybody else, even people I don't know.
Yeah, your when you guys first got into the accident, that was my first thought, was somebody wanted you to slow down. And I know you, and it takes a lot to get you to slow down. So somebody had to step in. And the funny but not funny thing was what happened when you started driving again. Do you remember?
Yeah, I hit a deer.
Yeah. Yeah.
I hit a deer. And I was going like between 35 and 40 miles an hour. He just walked right in front of me. I hit him, and he looked at me through the glass. It didn't, break my glass. He had a beautiful rack. And then he proceeded to walk on across the road and into the woods. So, and I remember when that happened, I got the car stopped and I got out and I was like, what is going on? And then these two women came by and they said, "Are you all right?" And I said, "No, I'm not all right." He hit a deer. They just looked at me like, "Well, bless your heart." And of course, there's no cell service there. So they had to drive and call Matthew and send Matthew and a friend were going to come and get me in the car. And I got in the car and I thought, I wonder if it'll start. It started. What did I do? I drove with one headlight hanging out, and but that slowed me down actually more than the wreck.
Yeah.
And I are feeling the same. I just am nodding my head continuously because I'm like, this sounds so familiar with this leg. I was like, I had to slow it down again. And I thought I already was slowed down, but I had to slow it down even more. And also it really forced me to follow my intuition, follow that action. That day, I did not want to play pickleball. Played pickleball with my friend. She's 80 years old. And that's my advice to all of you. Do not play pickleball with an 80-year-old woman. Because as an old worn out athlete, I lunged after every ball that she hit. And
like you're young
and I was already aggravated because I didn't want to go. I didn't want to play pickleball. I wanted to go for a hike. And so that happened, and that slowed me down for 4 months. And all I could think about was, you can't go hiking. So follow that intuition. That's gone for a while. So what are you going to do? And it did prompt me to do some creative things that I had meaning, I'm going to get to that. And it prompted me to say, honestly, just kick your leg up and let's just get this done. So it helped creatively that way, which was great. And from that moment on, as I started to walk, and then when I started to get the freedom of driving again, oh my gosh, I said, one step at a time, Marcia. Just take one step at a time. Don't race like you normally do. Don't get ahead of yourself. Just slow this down and just take this one step at a time. And that's what I've been doing and reminding myself every day of the week, because I'm like, I am not pedaling backwards on this one. There's just no way. A big part of me being in the woods is a big part of me. So I can't. I'll crawl there if I have.
Yeah. I so totally understand that. And I feel blessed that I am right here, in them. And so that helps tremendously. But yeah, and the whole process has been 2 steps forward and 1 back, 2 steps forward and 1 back. And the other day I was doing something. I think I was headed out to the garden, and sometimes I'm so out of focus, I have to focus when I walk, because if I don't, I find I'm on the ground, which I'm a good faller, so that's a good thing. But I was thinking, if I move slow and just continue on, I'm going to get there. And it popped into my head something Jonathan Goebel's mom asked me when I was staying with them and working as a pilot car. I always moved quickly. I could get things done, and here we go. And she asked me one day, she said, "Do you only have high speed?" I was like, "What?" She said, "You move so quickly." And it's just like you're up, you're gone, you're this, you're that. And now I can't.
Yeah.
I physically cannot do that. So I'm delegated to slowing down and focusing more. That brought another thought about something that there was a waitress that worked for my grandparents, and her name was Hazel Fern. I loved her beyond everything. She was so much fun. And she had one speed, and it was slow. And I remember my grandfather saying to her one day, Hazel Fern, you've only got one speed and it's slow. And I want to know how you get so much done being so slow. And I thought, well, maybe that's it now. I'm wiser in what I do. I put everything together before I go to do it, because I cannot walk back and forth to get this, to get that. I have to plan. And it's funny that two completely opposite things that in my life, things that were said, did a balance thing for me. What Jonathan's mom had said, and then what my grandfather had said about Hazel Fern. So there is that median where, now it's very important that we do that, and that we honor that about ourselves. And we speak up, when we feel like our intuition has said, this is not what you need to be doing right now, but we do it. So those are important things for us to remember, and especially in this time now, because so much energetically going on and being thrown out into the universe. And we pick that up. We are sensitive to that. Every type of energy that gets thrown out into the world, we pick it up. Now, for those who don't know they're picking it up, you're seeing people act out in different ways. They don't understand what's going on. They just know they're agitated. They don't feel good. Something's not right. I can't do this. I can't do that. And there's no way for them to transmute energies and to help with that. But for those of us that know, we really got job security here for a while, just trying to transmute energies that are swirling around.
Yeah, I've incorporated that into my morning and my nightly routines now. It's like purposely taking in all that negative sludge and trying to transmute it. There's a lot of it. There's no shortage of it right now, that's for sure.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. And it's heavy though. I mean, there's kind of a toxic individual at my work. And I think a lot of people, I'm pretty good at dealing with toxic people. I'm pretty good at seeing through that and just seeing, like seeing the soul, not the role type thing. And so I can manage that type of situation pretty well at work, but it seems like everyone at my work is just over it. Like they're just not tolerating it anymore. They're just, I haven't got enough time for that. But it's also, it just has a feeling to it. Like what's happening right now to me just has this feeling like it's something shifting. The last time I felt like this is right before I moved here. So I don't know if it's just something shifting in my life or if it's the collective or something. I mean, I know that there's a lot going on if anyone's been paying attention to the Schumann resonance over the past like week or two, it's been wild. It's been like a legit roller coaster. So I'm assuming that has a lot to do with it too, because even Kristen, who she's kind of on board with a lot of this stuff, you know, she's still a little iffy about some of it, but she woke up Monday morning, I think it was Monday or Tuesday, with just it might have been Tuesday, with like oh crap, I have a brain fart here. What's it called when you're just dizzy all the time?
Vertigo.
Vertigo. That's right. She woke up with vertigo, and like to the point where she couldn't drive Dublin to school, and she never gets that. And I was like, interesting. So I looked on the Schumann resonance, because I try not to look until I like to look back and try to add up what was going on, and then being like, oh, that makes sense. And I looked back at that night before, and I was like, wow. And that was the night that it really hit hard. I mean, it just like the amplitude was really heavy, and I was like, oh, she's feeling it. Like, so I think a lot of these physical symptoms that we're feeling are part of that. And I guess people call them ascension symptoms or whatever.
Yeah, I believe they are. That's years and years ago, you never heard of a lot of people having vertigo.
Right.
I mean, I had my first case years and years ago, and there was a huge change that happened. Plus, I was in a place that many, many years after that, I had a past life remembrance, and I was in that area. So, I think that even when our physical being doesn't recognize things, our soul does. It knows what's going on and understands, even when we are not understanding, what's going on. But talking to too many people that have vertigo, people who I consider aware or in touch with the energies and things like that have never had vertigo before. And so to me, that tells me that energetically we are being bombarded through outward things that we pick up. Does it have to be in our area? No, it could be on the other side of the world. And if somehow there's a part of us that's connected to that in more of a way than we are connected to it, then it's going to affect, I think, that person more.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting talking to people that that like aren't into this. To me, I just like to feel the waters and just kind of be like, so how are you feeling? Are you feeling anything? And yeah, because it's like sometimes I feel like I'm the only person. I don't know if you guys go through this, but I just feel like I'm the only person sometimes, and I'm just like, am I crazy? I'm always questioning my sanity, and then I'm like, then I always go back to like, yeah, I am crazy, but that's great. Like, because I'm happy being crazy, but I also feel like I'm probably the most sane person in a lot of situations.
Yeah.
I think when your and I always use the energy, the frequencies, and when you're on a frequency that other people are not, and you're not resonating with them, then you do feel alone.
Mm-hmm.
And until they either get in alignment with you,
Mm-hmm.
or you don't want to get in alignment with them. Obviously, it sounds like a lot of like employees or work people are a little lost right now, so they wouldn't even know what that maybe means to get in alignment.
Yeah.
And you're ahead of the game here, so it does make you feel alone. Of course, you're never alone, And when you're, like Arla said, with your spirit wants the best for you. If you're not living it in, and it's hard sometimes. I mean, I talk to myself every day. If this does not make you happy in a way that really excites you, then it's not for you. It really isn't. And you need to really just make sure you're headed in the direction of happy, because we're here to have wonderful experiences. And we're here to share those experiences. And that's what we're doing. And we all resonate with each other. And that's why we're all understanding and hearing each other. It's because we're on that same frequency with each other. I love it. I don't care if it's just me. I don't care if it's just us three. It's still phenomenal. I'm going to use that again. It's like this knowing, when you have an understanding of that you're not alone, and that you're eternal, and that you will align with others, will fall, others will come in. They will. The collective is forming, just like we've been talking. So the collective is forming. People are helping each other. I think Arla's place is going to be phenomenal again, because you're doing what you need to be doing. And when I see your videos, it just puts a big old smile on my face. And I know it must be doing the same for others. And of course it's doing it for you. And you're going to bring in those frequencies that we're going to work with each other, and we're going to be a collective and make it work. And I think it's exciting. It's really exciting. I can't wait to come down and visit your place.
Oh,
I know.
You're welcome. Anytime. I tell Sam the same thing. One of the girls that was here this past weekend, she came in, she'd been outside setting and, and she came in and she said, I need to tell you something. And I looked at her and I said, okay. And she said, there are very few places that have felt like home to me, and she began to tell me about the places she'd been in her life. And she's not a young woman, that she felt home. And she said, this place does. This place puts me in that peaceful place of home. Now, it's not my home. She loves her home where she lives. But she said, that's just the feeling I get. And that's important to me, because all of that energy that she felt went out into the universe. All that positive vibration of feeling that was shared with everything. And that's important to me because it's healing in so many different ways. It's healing. I remember Kashima told me years ago when I first came into the Bigfoot research world, he told me not to judge as good or bad, but to look at someone or something and ask myself, is my energy compatible with that? And if it's not, then just take yourself from that. And I see a lot of that happening now, where people they have to walk away. And, like you were talking, Sam, about people coming because they want something better. That's that walking away from something that was not fulfilling them. And a lot of those people don't know yet what it is that they're really looking for. But as seed planters, everything we say and do has an effect. And sometimes, I'll be honest, I don't want to plant seeds. I just want to go out and sit down in the woods or out here on the grass or in the garden and just be right there.
Yeah.
But then I feel all that love coming to me. And it's like, this got to be shared. I can't just sit here and hold this. And it's got to be shared. And as freaking Chicken says, share the love, you animals. And so,
yeah,
you know, we're doing the best we can. Yeah.
yeah. I've always said I was an introvert. I was an introvert most of my life, unless I got around people, that I like. And so it took me a while to realize that I'm not an introvert. I'm just an introvert around some people, but when I
You're
get
a
around,
selective
yeah,
introvert.
when I get around my people,
I'll wear that in.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. When I get around my people though, I'm totally an extrovert.
Speaking your language.
Yeah.
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 But that's what we're doing.
Yeah, I was kind of the same, Sam. I always thought I was introverted, and then I was like, no, you're just kind of being selective here.
Mm-hmm.
And but it did take me a long time because of that to kind of really form and find my voice. And once I found my voice, that just cleared up even more energy. And I was like, you can be introverted and you can talk. This is a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then I could participate in any audience, but not have to be not live in it, so to speak. So that helped a lot. And
that's being compatible with the energies. I have a lot of friends, but there are some who are not on their spiritual journey at this time. That doesn't mean they're any less of a friend, and I do love being around them. But when you come to connect with someone who your vibrations match and connect together, it's like, I've known you for so long. Maybe I just met you, but oh my gosh, I know you. I feel you. I am you and you're me, and all this other stuff that people say, but it's true.
Yeah.
Because there is a connection that so far supersedes being a friend than anything, because you are a part of that person.
Yeah. It's a soul level connection. Yeah. 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 Cause I can't, if someone starts gossiping,
Oh,
I gotta go. Cause it just feels terrible to me. I don't even like the energy of being near gossip. And I didn't understand that for a long time. I would just be quiet. Now I just leave because I just don't like it. I don't like people that or I don't like being around people that project all their anger onto things, even if it's not on me. Because if they project it on me, I can deal with that. But when they're projecting on other things or other people that aren't around, I just can't be around that, man. I gotta get out of there. And I think that's why I spend most of my time at work with my headphones in, even if I'm not listening to anything, I just keep them in to pretend I'm listening to something. Yeah. I like last year I went to the woods a few times earlier in the year, and that's usually my place. I go to the woods and I just talk. And I went a lot in April. I went a lot in May, and it was like I went last Beltane to drum, and I think that was the last time I went until last weekend. That's the last time I had been in the mountains, other than to go up and like snowboard or whatever. But like going to my places and connecting like I usually do. And that's very unusual for me. But I just didn't feel that call to go up there. And I don't know what that was about. Sometimes I feel like I go up there and use it as a way to bypass or ignore what I'm supposed to be doing. You know what I mean? And I think that last year I kind of got the feeling it was like, don't come up here. don't go up there. You need to do, your work. You can't use this to avoid what you need to be doing, So going back to shadow work, it was like last year was like shadow work central, I got furloughed from work for 2 months, and it was just sit at home and do your shadow work. And I tried to go camping with my son, and we got a mile from our campsite and the road was snowed to the point, and it was steep too. So it wasn't like we could make it up. And I was like, crap. And it was like, no, go home, sit at home, do your shadow work, and I was like, fine. And then a couple weeks ago, some stuff came up again, and it was old stuff that I thought I had worked through, and it came back up. And I was like, well, here we go again, so I had to work through that stuff. And so I finally got to a point where I was like, 2 weeks ago, I was feeling that call to go back up into the mountains again. And I was like, all right, cool. It's getting close to the time where the snow is going to start melting. And I was like, morels are going to start popping up soon. I was like, I can go use mushroom hunting as an excuse to get out in the woods. Man, I went up there Saturday. I got lost in the woods. It's the first time I've ever been lost in the woods in this area. And I go to this area a lot. And let me tell you what happened. That's funny.
Mhm.
I pull up and I get to a point where there's still snow on the road. And I was like, all right, I guess I'll stop here. But so when you go down this forest road, you go and then it'll kind of branch off on this one road, and you'll go a little bit further, and then it turns to the left, or it keeps going straight. And normally I go to the left, because if I keep going straight, it goes to a lake. And I thought I had already gone to the left, but how sometimes when you're in the snow, it just makes it changes how everything looks. So I parked my truck and I was like, all right, well, I'm going to go walk this way, but I'm not going to go to the lake today. And I had my vest on. I packed my trash bags in my back, because I always pick up trash when I'm out walking. And I'm like walking, and I'm talking out into the woods and everything. And I said to myself, what am I doing? I'm doing exactly what I tell people not to do. I was like, I tell people when you go to the woods, and if you want to connect, just go sit in one place and connect. And I'm walking and I'm just wandering around the woods, just talking to myself. And I'm like, why am I doing this? And I'm like, oh, it's because you've been in the woods. If you haven't been to the woods for a while, you just want to do this. And I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to turn around and go back. So I turned around, and I said, as I turned around, I was like, all right, I'm going to go back to the car. If there's any trash that you need me to pick up, or that you need me to see, can you please guide me to that trash? And I'm walking and I get to a road, and I'm like, okay, this is the road to my car. So I go to the forest road. I'm walking down the forest road, and there's like no tracks through the snow on this forest road. And I'm like, this is weird. I must be really far off course. So I'm like walking like 30 minutes. And I'm like, I'm still not seeing any tire tracks in the snow. And I'm like, where the hell am I? And I'm like walking. And so finally I like eat crow and pull out my phone, and I'm like, pull out the GPS app, and I'm like, all right, well, I'll just figure out where I am. And I look, and I'm like nowhere near where I thought it was. And I was like, well, crap. And so I like start heading back. I was totally going in the opposite direction. I walked 30 minutes in the wrong direction. And so I start going due south, because I was going the wrong way. And I ended up in the place that I wasn't going to go. And what was there? Trash. And I was like, okay, I got it. So I pulled out my bag, and I picked up 2 bags worth of trash at that place that people left. And I was like, okay, but I just found it funny, because I was so turned around when I got there, and I thought I was somewhere, but I was totally in another place. And it was just so funny to me, but I ended up where I needed to be.
Yep. And you asked to be there.
Right.
You asked the universe to guide you, to show you the trash.
Yeah. But it was like it put me one step ahead of myself. It was like
Yes.
it knew I was going to ask. So it was like, okay, well, we'll put you here and let you think you're there. You're somewhere else.
You ask a question, you will get an answer.
Yeah. Ginger commented, she said, you're lucky you got a signal. I know, I'm super lucky, because when I pulled my phone out and tried to open up the GPS, it took about 15 minutes for it to even show me where I was. Because I remember I was standing there, and I was like, it was showing me I was in Sisters, and that's 45-minute drive away. And I was like, uh-oh, like, that's not good. So yeah, and then and I was looking at the news the other day, and a guy got lost in the woods that same day. And they found him. They found him like half a mile away from where he had left, and he was gone for hours. And he said he just got disoriented and didn't know where he was. And I was like, I never thought that I would be that guy, but after what happened and then seeing that guy in the news, I'm like, okay, you could be that guy. So don't get too cocky there, Ace.
That's when Coyote would have had a
Yeah.
field day with me. So
Right. Yeah.
yeah,
Maybe
that's
maybe you picked up that guy's spot and it just manifested, and then you both got lost.
It could. Yeah, maybe we connected, because I did go through, I'm not gonna lie. I laughed at myself afterwards, but I had about a 5-minute panic attack for a second there, because I had no idea where I was, and it was starting to get close to dark, and I didn't bring any food or water with me because I was Mr. Oh, I'll be fine, you know. And I was like, great, I'm gonna be that guy, you know. I'm like but then I kind of got my whereabouts, and I remember walking through this one patch of snow, because the snow's starting to melt, and it's getting to the point where if you're walking on one of those big snow things, and if it's over like fallen trees or whatever, and you start punching through it, I was post holing through this one area, and I was going up to my thighs. And I was like, I can't believe that I got myself into this, man. I was like, and then I started laughing at myself, and I was like, you dummy. You'll be fine, just keep going. And I was like, all right, I'll get there.
yeah, that's almost like that whole focus thing. And it's not always a negative to be out of focus.
Right.
A lot of times when we're out of focus, it's the universe saying to us, hey, something's going on here. Look around you, think about, where are you, what's going on, and pull all of that back into yourself. I know, there have been times that I've been so totally out of focus, and I knew that there was a reason for it. It wasn't just sludge or whatever, because sometimes when we're out of focus, it's easier for the universe to get our attention and say, hey, something's going on here. Something else I've been saying and talking with people about is people who normally listen to their promptings are now not listening to them. It's like they've shut that off. I mean, and like in your case, Marcia, you were doing something to please someone else. So it wasn't exactly like what I'm talking about, but it's like people who have always been steady, and they've got a prompting from the universe, they've acted on it, they've done what needed to be done. And now it's like they don't want to hear that. And when they hear it, they just, oh, that's just something I'm thinking, and go on by, still knowing that the universe is saying something to them. And I've thought about that, and that it could be a side effect of all of these vibrations and energy and everything else that's going on, trying to go from 3D to something more. And that's hard for a lot of people who have listened, for a long time, and it's been an important part. And now it's almost like it's an annoyance. And that really, I got to thinking about that too a lot. If that becomes an annoyance, then we've really got to work on this transmuting of energies and helping the best ways that we can with this new alignment that that our bodies are trying to get in sync with. The world's calling for, I want something better. And that doesn't mean that it costs more or whatever. It's just the world itself is looking for something better. And as seed planters, we've really got to be diligent in doing what it is that we know we're supposed to do, even if it's just a little seed, and you throw it out there in a conversation. You never know what that someone's going to gravitate to or grasp from that, and you may never know, but it doesn't negate the need to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. I think sometimes I don't know if I'm like too positive or too upbeat sometimes. And it's like I'll say stuff sometimes and it almost it seems like it annoys people. You know what I mean? I don't know if you guys ever get that. But I'm always very optimistic about things, and I tend to look on the bright side or see the good in every situation.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems to annoy people sometimes, where they like just want to be upset, or they want to find that thing that's like negative or something that's like inconveniencing them. And it's funny because I'll be like even sometimes when I post stuff on the internet, I'll post things in social media, I'll post something that's like really positive, or like just very loving, and it'll get like a couple responses. But then I'll post something that's like really dumb, like a can of Coke or something stupid, and it'll get like 50 likes. And I'm like, okay. Okay. So I don't know if that goes back to what you were just talking about, or maybe people are just trying to avoid the work, or just looking for whatever they can to avoid doing the work. I know I'm guilty of that. I'm not, my meditation game has gotten terrible over the past couple months. And I'm the first to admit that. Like I really fell off my meditation.
Yeah. And yourself, because I've done the same thing. Just letting that part of me go that I know feeds me, because I'm so caught up in something else. And people always say you got to take care of yourself first.
Yeah.
Well, you got to take care of all aspects of yourself, not just your physical health, your emotional health, but that part of you that knows what it needs to function in a way. And like, for me, meditation is like, whoop, I'm kicking sludge to the curb.
Yeah.
But then you get caught in the sludge and you're like, well, I'll do it later.
Yeah, I know. And that's the thing. Like, I know that. Like, I know how good it feels when you meditate or when you're done, especially when you have those meditation, when you meditate and you connect, or you see something, or you have that like aha epiphany, or you get that message you've been looking for. That's so great. It's such a great feeling. And then I'm still like, oh, well, I don't know. I got to do this. I got to do that. I'm like, it is funny. It's like a constant struggle with, I guess, your shadow self,
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
Yeah. It's learning. It's just learning and seeing that the value is that we do that. And most of the people I know talk about this as well, that it's always that feeds them the most. They seem to have the hardest time getting to that. And something as simple as a 15-minute meditation. I know I was doing some simple Qigong exercises when I first came to the cabin, and oh my goodness, my body was responding. Well, then, I don't have time. I've got to do this. I didn't do that. Yeah. And so I've gotten back into it, and it's like, Arla, This is so simple. It's 12 minutes out of your morning, or if you get pulled down during the day, 12 minutes. You could sit and look at Facebook and have 40 minutes when you could have donated 12 of that
Right.
to revitalizing yourself. And so we're learning in all of this jumbled up stuff that's going on. And that's kind of how I feel. There's so much jumbled up stuff going on that those moments are so special.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that all of that, the meditation, the Qigong, the exercises, those are all part of my physical healing. So, I know too that as I heal more and more is going to be expected of me. And so, somewhere in me, I'm wrestling with those things too.
Yeah. It's fun. It's funny how you're eat.
I mean, as I do art every day, so that I've always kind of walked that line, so to speak, and it's always been very easy for me to be more into being with my inner being than being in this physical stuff. So that part comes easy. And when I sketch in a sketchbook, it allows me to really be in the moment. There's nothing better than when I get that sketchbook out and I'm in the moment. It's just in the moment. There's no other words for that. You're just really in the moment. And I think that's what a lot of people can't quite grasp, that as far as allowing themselves to just be in the moment. And meditation can come in many forms, as far as if you're in the moment and you're not thought processing, then you are meditating.
Mm-hmm.
And go out in the woods, like you said, Sam, and go out and sit and just be in the moment of it. It's really, once you get in the groove, you just don't want to miss doing that, because it's such a big part of the balance that you need to be here in the physical. It's a wonderful balance. And you need it more now than ever. And people that, are saying they've reached that point with their energy, if they're starting to quit jobs and just taking off, instead of, most people used to plan, they'd go, okay, well, I'm going to have an interview at noon and nobody will know. But now they're just like, I'm done. I'm done with this. I don't even care what happens.
Yep.
And that's good, actually, because that has opened up a huge door for them, and they're going to really they're going to find themselves through that, and they're going to really find what they want to do. That's a huge step for people. Huge.
Yeah.
So that happened to me all the time when I used to work as an artist. Working as an artist, those company jobs would last maybe at the most 5 years. I grew up with parents that are like, 30 years, and you get the plaque and you get the watch and you get all that. And I'm like, that's not working for me. What's going on here?
Yeah.
And so I learned that just through working too. And there were moments where I would work and I'd be like, I'm not doing this. And I would just get up and leave. It took a lot, and people would be like, well, how are you going to pay your bills? I'm not worried about it. I'm in the moment of what I need to do right now. And it's not be here, period, the end.
Right.
So, and people, I think, are really discovering that more than ever now. So that's a great thing.
Yeah, it is. Like when the guy I work with, he told me yesterday when he was putting in his notice, he makes a lot of money at this job. Like, he makes good money. So it's not like he's just giving up like a minimum wage job. And I was like, what are you going to do? He was like, I don't know. So I'm going to take a few months off and just kind of travel around a little bit. And I was like, that's awesome. And I was like, congratulations. And he was like, yeah, they're trying to get me to stay and get me more money and, trying to convince me I'm making a huge mistake. And I was like, you're not. And I was like, just do you, man. Just shoot your shot, just go out there. Yeah. So I'm like super excited for him because he had to work through the furlough. I had my break. And when I came back, I told him, I was like, well, I had my break last year, so you deserve your break now. And he was like, I do. Yeah. Yeah. But we
Yeah,
need,
that letting go of everything puts them in such a wonderful position to open up and begin to see that there is so much more to our world than making all that money and doing this day after day after day after day. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing to do for people. It's what your choice is and what you learn from your choice, but to let go, and you're out there hanging over everything, not tied to that thing that's going to keep me safe. If I have that, then I don't have to worry. But to cut that cord, oh my goodness, that's amazing. That's really amazing, and such a wonderful space for you to be in, to see that and to revel in the energy of doing that. So, oh yeah, that's pretty awesome.
yeah. Yeah, when we made the trip out here, we took about 2 weeks just to drive out here. And I really think that's what I'm meant to do. Like, not meant to do, but just like that felt so natural to me, to just not have a schedule, to just let's just see where we go today. It was like we didn't have places to stay set up. We would just get in the car and drive, and we'd get and we'd be like, oh, well, we could stay here. So we just get on the phone and just, book a little hotel room or whatever. And that to me was it just felt so natural to me to just go with the flow and not have a set trip itinerary and schedule and all that stuff. And like, it was funny because the four of us were in a car together for almost 2 weeks, and we didn't get in one argument the whole time. And we were just happy, just living life. It was fun. And
that nomad that you're supposed to be.
I wish. Like one of my best friends, he sold his house, and he and his wife have been driving around in their van for a year and a half now, almost 2 years. Just driving around. They're in. Actually, they're going to be here on Saturday. They've been in California for the past couple weeks in the redwoods. So there's always sending pictures, and just they wake up in the sequoias, just walk their dog, send pictures of bears or just whatever, and I'm like, that's so awesome, But what, 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, what would we call those people? Freeloaders, bums, hippies, whatever, And now there's so many people doing this, selling their houses and being more mobile or being more able to travel. And I see it, so much of it here. I'm sure you see a lot of it, Marcia.
Yeah, up here in the Pacific Northwest, everybody's young people are Sprinter vans, and they got those things all loaded, and I see them everywhere. I'm just like,
everywhere.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
they're just living out of their vans. They want to go up to Mount Baker and hang out for the day and do what they need to do. They go up there and spend the night and come back down to town, and they really want it.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. If we go up to Mount Bachelor in the wintertime during like snowboarding and skiing season, if you go to the parking lot, pull up in that parking lot on the West Village, and it is just as far as you can see Sprinter vans, and it's just people doing their mobile work during the day for a little bit, and then they'll hop out of their van, and then they'll go snowboard a little bit, come back, do some work, snowboard. Some of those people live there for a month or two, just working.
If you have a mobile lifestyle, I mean, if you can work at home, you can do that anywhere.
Yeah.
So a lot of these people that have, that pandemic was perfect for that, because it was like, hey, I've got to go home. And some of these young ones are already kind of resonating where they need to be. They're like, hey, I'm getting my van and I'm working from that, and I'm going to just check out different places and have all these wonderful experiences. And I'm like, nice move.
Yeah, I think it's
Mhm.
awesome. Yeah. Yeah, I think that,
And they're sharing it with the world too. You know, a lot of these guys have YouTube
Right.
pages
Mhm.
and they'll share their experiences, and that helps everyone that can't have those experiences feel it and be a part of it and experience it. And there's some of these guys that are going back to just what they want to do,
Mhm.
like you, Arla. And they're showing the world this, and they are amping up an audience that's unbelievable, because that's what the rest of the world wants to do.
I
They're just,
Yeah.
this gal, look what she's doing. She's got this whole thing going on. And they'll just, they just love watching it through you. They, you know, if people that can't get out, you know, handicapped or what, they love having that experience of watching what everyone's doing. So I think the balance again between our technology and our being rooted to the planet is essential, because once you're in balance with that, there's a huge audience there to resonate with. And that's a really cool thing. So,
Yeah.
Sam, we expect you to be in your Sprinter van next year.
I had one. I had a van. No, I did. I had a van that we used, but then the kids got too big and they kind of outgrew. So we got rid of it. Now we bought a travel trailer though, in November. So we've been using that a little bit. But that's a whole different thing, towing that thing around. But if I could, I'm not gonna lie. I see some of these guys doing, like their mobile work, and I'm like, okay, I could go to school for a couple years and I could start doing that, But I don't know. I don't know where I'm supposed to be going, but I have an idea. Like I've got some things that have been in the works. I'm just trying to figure out how to do it and still support my family. And that's,
I'm a huge believer of creating your own reality.
Mhm.
Sometimes we forget about that, but when we get in sync with it and we get happy and we enjoy what we're doing and we know this is what we're supposed to be doing, that's what you do, Sam. You just throw it out there and you line it up and say, this is what I want to see happen. And you will. Maybe it won't happen tomorrow, but
Right.
little steps will start taking place. And you're like, oh my gosh, this is fantastic.
Yeah.
And you'll start seeing it, and that'll raise your vibration even
Mhm.
more. And then it
Yeah.
really will come even faster.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm working towards it. It's just, it's a learning process, because what we're trying to do, but it's exciting. And it's like juggling this with my other job that I'm doing is like taking up 90% of my time right now. So like I said, there's a lot of doors opening, and it seems like the more doors that open, more doors open. And so I'm trying to figure out which door I'm going to step through right now. So we'll see.
And it'll be the right one.
Yeah.
It'll be the right one. I mean, this is something that you actually manifested for yourself. So it's not like, oh, you did this and that sounds cool and all this other stuff. It had its steps of manifestation, which brought you to this point, and let you know for sure that, yeah, this is part of what I'm supposed to be doing. And so in doing that, you've got that pool. Oh, I want to be doing this. This is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
But the universe is saying, well, it's not time yet.
Right.
There are things that have to be done. And that's where you go back to what Marcia said. You create your reality. You bring that in and let it be the reality that serves in the most high way.
Right.
And knowing I know. And yet we've got all these energies that are flying around in the universe right now that we have to deal with too.
Yeah.
But that's part of growth. And all of these people who are in these Sprinter vans and are reconnecting to the natural world, they're making their steps to walk down the path that they're probably going to walk down at some point. They're connecting to that part that this earth has to heal so many people. For all of us, it's healing to be in those places. It's our connection. It's the soul's growth of connecting to these physical parts of this earth, which are really spiritual parts. You know, we can say that's a tree, or that's a river, or that's a whatever. But in actuality, that is a relative. That is a part of who this body is made up of. And the soul for sure wants to know how to be the best human and have the highest human experience that they can have, because our souls chose. You know, this is where our soul chooses to be. It chooses to be human. That spiritual being that we are is here to learn how to look around us and see that connection and that beauty, and that's what our soul's striving for, and other people's souls that are striving for, that don't quite understand that yet. They just know there's something else out there, and they're looking. And so we get to sludge through the soup and try to help with the energies of those who are in that place of wanting more and not truly, you know, understanding just what it is they want. They want more through less.
Right.
And that's so doesn't make sense.
And they're not settling, though. That's the thing that's important. They're not settling for like that whatever job they can get. You know, they're going for it, or they're living, man. They're just living their lives. And I love it. I love to see it. And I 100% believe you manifest your reality, you create your reality. and so you create what you want. From my experience, it just never comes in the way I expect it. So while I'm creating it, I'm having to keep my, I'm looking at everything. I'm like, that could be it. That could be it, and then when it hits you though, you're like, oh, that's definitely it. But I always get like, oh, that could be it. That could be it, So
I don't want to miss it.
I know.
I got to pay attention.
I know it'll come, and it'll all merge together how it's meant to. And I know I have to be patient and just keep going, because I know I don't want to rush it. I want it to be right. So I'm just taking my time, and we'll see how it goes.
I know that feeling very well of, you can throw it out there and you have this visual. Visual. And then when it does manifest, it's like sometimes it can do a little 180 and it comes in a little differently, but it's the same, but it comes in differently. So, this thing that might happen for you with Oregon might turn into something global or something. You don't even know how big this could get. So
I mean, that's my dream is for it to happen everywhere. Cause I feel like, I was talking to my friend about the guy in Portland that runs the hospice. Like it really hurts me, and it breaks my heart to see people throw away inmates like they're just trash, like, because I grew up in an environment where I saw the criminal element all around me growing up, and a lot of the people that got caught up in it, they're good people. They just either made bad choices, or this is just their life's path that they chose, or whatever. And they ended up in prison, and our society just writes those people off as like, well, they shouldn't have done that, and it's like, that's so shitty, man. Sorry, pardon my French, but it hurts my heart that people just discard people that easily. And so, oh,
excuse me.
Oh, no.
When I was in Mexico, many years ago, but I had a lot of Spanish friends, and some of their families. A lot of those friends their siblings, 3/4 of them spent their whole life in the prison system.
Right.
And when I would see creatively what these guys and gals created, I was just like, well, holy smokes, there's so much creativity that's just not being utilized.
Yeah.
And that's where, just like maybe people aren't quite awake yet on many levels.
Right.
When you've got those that are running these, the whole operation, when they are not understanding this other than through the eyes of just linear, cha-ching, that's when you need someone coming in and just going, you could take that creativity and that could be a phenomenal thing to keep that going for people. And I mean, it was unbelievable creativity. So I'm sure the same, and unbelievable sensitivities, like you just said, a lot of these guys, maybe they've done some bad things, but when you talk to them, you're just like, this is the nicest guy ever. I mean,
Right.
but he just got caught up in some bad stuff here, a bad moment, or just bad moments, a lot of them.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think you're right. They just need that open door of going, you could be that. And for hospice, I think that would be phenomenal, because that would help them not only be that nurturing that maybe they didn't get, they could be that person that gives that nurturing and receive information from those that are transitioning, and then learn that process of what happens through the death experience. I think that's a phenomenal idea. And there's my phenomenal again, but I think that's a phenomenal idea. And I wholeheartedly agree with that direction too, because I think that, just watching my own mother who went through, oh my gosh, 3 long years of full-time nursing. It was hard. It was so hard on all of us.
Mhm.
And how that could have been, could just shifted a little bit just to help the process of that a little bit. So I totally agree with that. I don't have any problem.
Yeah, I wish that prison systems would have more positive outlets, or just more opportunities for these guys and gals, just to, because that's the one of our family friends, he teaches at a juvenile correction facility, and some of the stuff I talked to him about, and some of these kids, they don't know anything. I mean, they really don't. And so all they know is the street life. And so they grow up and they get caught up in this mess, and they don't know little things. Like they don't know where eggs come from, like it's just the stuff that he tells me. And he's like, man, you'll never really get it, until you hear some of these kids talk. And it's heartbreaking, man. And it sucks. So I think in that prison system, so I wish that there was more positive outlets that they could find something, that maybe that would take them, like art or whatever the positive thing that could awaken their creativity or awaken their spirit, and just get them to awaken to that person inside of them that wants to be awake, just never got the opportunity to be there. So
I think
one of the most creative things that I see in some people, and I had a sister-in-law that was like this. She used to tell me all the time, you're so creative. You can do this, and you can create this, and you can create that. And I told her one day, I said, you're creative too. And she said, I can't do anything. And I said, yes, you can. Everybody that comes to talk with you and sit with you, I feel better when they leave. I always feel better just talking to you, just about anything. It's just an energy and a manner about her that to me was a sign of creativity, because creativity is just connecting to the creator of the universe. You know, that's that direct link, and it comes through everybody, but in different ways, making people feel better. To me, that's one of the best things in the world a person could do, because then that person has built up another person, and that person is more inclined to build up another person. And with art, like Marcia's art and things, you know, I read the comments on her page when she posts something about what a positive feeling that people get, and they express that. And through that creative process that Marcia connects to, the creator of the universe, once again comes to somebody else. And, you know, Sam, you have your own ways of creativity as well. And we all do. It's just that connection to the creator. And you're doing this with a possibility of empowering someone to help someone else. Oh my gosh, that is phenomenal, Marcia. That is phenomenal for sure. Because
I think it's a guarantee too. I think you got that one easy, Sam.
Yeah. So that creative ability is not always about creating something tangible. It's what comes from that creation, whether it's being kind and, you know, whatever, or teaching someone to help another person, building that person up, that's going to help another person. You know, I hear people say all the time, it makes them feel good to help somebody else, to do something positive for somebody else. So that not only helps the person that needed something, it helps the person that supplied that, whatever it was. And it doesn't really make any difference, you know, what it was. So, but yeah, I'm excited for you, Sam, because I know I got to watch a little of this process through our conversations over a while about, you know, you're thinking about, you know, these sacred things and medicines and things that, you know, we've been given, and using them in a sacred manner too, which is how they were created. They were created to help heal in whatever manner that they need to heal. And I know how important that was to you, and now to be able to take that and put it with this other, I think it's phenomenal. That's the only word I could think of.
Yeah.
I can see it.
Yeah, and it's a battle too, because you know, you've got the pharmaceutical people and the corporate people and all the money that can be made by all this, trying to stick their little fingers in everything, and you know, and you've got a few people that are just holding on to just trying to keep it as pure and as simple, and just trying to help people, not make it into a business model of how can we make these people into a profit, you know. And it just, so that's the struggle. But we got 2 years, so we're fighting for it. And that's the thing, like most of the people that started this, they want to keep it pure, you know, they want to keep it natural and not turn it into a freaking mess. Like I don't know. Anyways. So
well, that's a disrespect of that healing plant. And if you look back over what I consider to be sacred herbs and plants, you've got things that were used in ceremony and for different things. I'll just throw out tobacco. Well, what happened when tobacco needed to do something, and which was basically hook people on tobacco because of things that they added to a sacred plant.
Mhm.
What was the repercussion of that happening?
Yeah.
And there was a repercussion because of the use of tobacco in a way. It's going to be the same with marijuana,
It already
with,
is.
the
Mhm.
mushrooms, with anything, ayahuasca, all of these things that are sacred and are here to heal and to help us heal in various ways. When they walk into disrespect, there will be a repercussion against that.
I can tell
And
you from experience, you cannot disrespect mushrooms because they will whip you into shape quick.
yeah, I remember the International Council of 13 Indigenous Grandmothers. One of the grandmothers in Mexico worked with what she called the Santos Niños, which is the holy boys, which was the mushrooms. And the grandmothers were going through a thing using the mushrooms, and some were a little hesitant and whatever. And it was like one of them had said after they had done it, all I know is I wanted more.
Yeah.
So it wasn't the experience of I'm going to get high or I'm going to do this. It was, this is being used in a good way.
Yeah.
And not.
Yeah. And they can be. That's the most important part is I consider them helping spirits that have manifested here in the form of a mushroom. And when you ingest them, you are agreeing to whatever therapy that they're gonna provide you, whatever help they're gonna bring to you, in whatever form they choose to bring to you, because it's different for everyone. Sometimes it's a little rough, sometimes it's loving. It's always loving, but sometimes it's a little harder to take. The lessons that come sometimes are a little hard, and I think but they're always good. And I think a lot of people expect it to be like oh, this is going to be great, and it can be, but it
Yeah.
can also be really heavy, and you need to be.
Depends on
Yeah.
what you need.
Mhm.
And that's one of the things about the sacred plants, whatever they are, they know once they are part of you, then they know, what
Oh, yeah.
needs to be taught. And
Oh, yeah.
it's the same with all of them.
Mhm.
And it always bothers me when there's disrespect of any of the sacred plants, because they are our relative.
Yeah.
And they know us, and they were there to help us, not to be some party type of thing. And I'll get off my
No, I
I'll
totally
get off
agree. I
my
totally agree.
soapbox.
And but see, the counter to that is I probably would never have tried them had I not heard about the fun that people had while they were taking when I was younger, because you hear like flashback stories, people say like, oh, I had a flashback, or I had a terrible trip, or whatever you want to call it. But like, there's a catch to that. And the catch is that the reason you had a terrible trip is because you had things you had to work through, and you did not want to, and you fought it, and you fought it, and you fought it, and that's why you had a bad trip. Because the way that I tell everyone from my experiences is so like you go to a house party and you just had so much fun, it's just the best night, and this is how mushrooms are. They come on, you feel amazing, your heart opens, your vibration rises, and you just feel everything's beautiful. You can see auras, it's beautiful. That lasts for a few hours. It's just like house party. You have a fun and it's great. You laugh to the point where your stomach cramps up. But then when the party's over, that's when they put their arm around you and they say, I'm glad you had fun, man. Why don't you come in here? And you guys go into the kitchen, you sit down, and then they start opening up those drawers. And they're like, what's in here? And you're like, no, close that. I don't you don't want to go in there, you know? And they're like, no, seriously, like what's in here? And finally to the point where you're like, you know, you can fight it and fight it and fight it, or you just, fine, it's this. And then you have to go through your stuff, you know, but it's in a loving way that it makes it good unless you fight it. And if you don't go with it, you're going to get a bad experience. And but in the right setting and in the right understanding, and if you do it with people that know what they're going through, like what they're trying to do here, it's a beautiful thing. And it can remove all fear of death. It can remove all fear of, you know, trauma, past childhood trauma. You can come to so like closure on so many things that you normally wouldn't be able to do, because your ego would get caught up in it, or whatever, that thing that would keep you from wanting to do that yourself. It just breaks down all those barriers. And that's why when you see, you know, people that are terminally ill finally try it and they come back, and it's so beautiful to see. It almost makes me want to cry every time I see it, because it's like when you see them lose that fear of death, it's beautiful. And so that's what I'm hoping comes of all this, and I hope it doesn't get exploited. I just hope it becomes a genuine helping thing. So that was my soapbox for a while. So I'll get off that.
I'm glad we got to this on the show, because I've started several times to ask you about this while we were on the podcast. So I guess this was the perfect timing to talk about this, because it is such a special thing.
Yeah, it is. It's very important. That just made me shake. Like my whole body's like shaking now. I just get so excited when I talk about it, man. I feel it in my heart that like it could change the world. You know, this stuff could change the world if it's respected and done correctly. So
that's pretty much the way the world is right now. If we can come back to respect, you know, and I go back to what Kashima said so many years ago, you know, it's you humans, you know, you don't respect the air, you don't respect the water, you don't respect the earth, you don't respect each other, you don't even respect yourself. And when we get that respect and understand it, then we don't take something like this beautiful healer and disrespect it. We respect it for what it is that it brings, or we respect each other. That doesn't mean I respect the things you do, but I have respect for your soul as your soul is learning. And you know, the worst he said was not respecting ourselves and doing what we know to do. And if you respect yourself, then you don't disrespect anything else. So
yeah, that's one of the things they taught me in my doula training was just, and this is something that I came across myself, but when they put it in a very simple term, and it's be a soul, not a role. And I say that all the time. And so now when I see somebody going through their crap or just being a jerk or whatever, or I see somebody yelling at me for something I didn't do, and they're just mad and projecting out, I say that they're a soul. That's their role, you know. But like, just you got to see through the illusion of the physical.
Yeah.
And that's what, you know, all the energy is trying to get us to do right now is just
and we have to do that for ourselves too.
Oh yeah,
we have to say that to ourselves. That's very important. I'm a soul. You know, I'm doing, you know, stuff in a way I probably shouldn't do it, but I'm a soul and I'm learning. You know, so
so is everybody in prison. They're a soul. They're just doing their thing. They're either chose to take the path that they're on and take the hard learning path, you know, or whatever it is that they're doing, or got caught up in in something, but they're learning, and you gotta give
And that
everyone.
doesn't, no matter what a human does, it doesn't negate that soul that's trying to learn, and it's, you could go back to, talking about throwing stones. You don't throw stones if you live in a glass house. And for heaven's sakes, if you're open and sharing, and you're walking your talk, then you don't necessarily have to worry about that. But if you're just out there talking your walk about what you do and who you are and all this other stuff, you better be very careful, where you're sending that out. And gossip is one of those things that, where we are sending stuff out when we better be careful.
Oh yeah. Totally. Yeah, that's for sure. Oh.
And I think those that have kind of taken the, if we talk about our inmates that have taken a fast track on some maybe not so, they've made some bad decisions, usually end up getting to where they need to get a lot faster than those that don't do anything, that go about the process of just they're just living the game, so to speak, and they're just taking this road with blinders, and they're just going, where those that have kind of been a little bit of a rebel to it and maybe made a bad decision because of that, they usually find that space a lot faster. So those are the ones that you'd want helping people transition.
Yeah, and there's a lot of those people there.
Quicker.
Yeah, and there's a lot of
understand death.
Yeah,
process of they're going to understand the process of life and living and being an eternal being. And they'll get there faster than those that are just conditioned and are not thinking about it at all.
Yep. Yeah, and I mean there are the people that have done very heinous things, and but the majority of people that are in there, I don't want to go off on another tangent, but like our private prison industry, the prison industrial complex, that's one of the most heinous things I think that's ever been around, where you send people 10, 15, 20 years in prison for marijuana.
Exactly.
For a plant that
got all the people that had to go to jail for marijuana.
Yeah, people get killed, or like just because they had a plant that can't kill you. You know what I mean? It's like that's ridiculous. So these people that are really not bad people end up being locked away for half their life for having a freaking plant, and that's not, and in a lot of those, there's a book right now I'm reading that it's a combination of a bunch of stories of people who had spiritual awakenings while they were in prison, and it's amazing. It's beautiful. I mean, it's amazing, but it's I always have to tell myself like this is their path, like this is their path, this is their learning experience, and their awakening experience or whatever it is. But it's just really, yeah, I mean, it goes back to what you were just saying. Like some of these people are just doing what they know how to do to survive, or even just like, they just had a bag of marijuana in their pocket and they were just going to hang out with their friends. And then the next thing you know, they're doing 10, 20 years in prison and they have a spiritual awakening. And it's like, that's huge, that's huge. So I think a lot of people here right now are in a prison, like in their personal prison, So
last year when we were shut down, I work in a little room, and everyone said, well, how's this changed your life? And I said, it hasn't, because now the rest of the world just has to do this with me. I do this every day of the week.
Right.
And I've learned, like probably those in prison, to open up the ceiling and go out there into the universe, to ask questions and get answers. And when you're in that that's why I say it probably comes faster to them. It probably does.
Yeah.
They're not being distracted.
Yep. And that's, I feel like last year's lockdown, I really felt like at the beginning of that was the whole point, you know, from a spiritual point of view. I felt like that the lockdown was that. It was like the universe's way of saying, like, everyone goes in timeout, you know, and you guys have to sit and you have to work through your crap. And some people chose to, and some people chose to ignore it. And, you know, that's just the way it is.
Phenomenal time to be a human on this planet.
It really is. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Right? We're living through some, it's fantastic. Imagine when I was a little kid, I asked him the whys and the whats and the wheres. I was like, well, who are we? And he just didn't know how to answer these. And what do we do? And where are we going? And a little girl, and I'm sure he just kind of looked at me like, what the heck? But what he laid out in front of me, I was like, that's not.
Yeah.
I might play this a little bit, but I don't know if it's
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know? So I think many of us are also, we knew this was going to happen. I mean, this is like puts a smile on our face because we're like, you know what? I trusted my heart and my gut on this. I knew this. And it did happen. And it's great because this is what we all, you need this kind of intensity before change. So this is where we are.
Yeah.
It's where the change comes.
Yeah, that's like the pendulum. For the pendulum to come back in balance, it has to swing all the way out to the edge. And at that point, it begins to come back. And that's what, you know, I see a lot of that now, that we are coming back to a balance point. And all of this stuff that's going on in our world just signals that, that's what happens. You know, we've swung way out there as a society, and society now is being pulled back to a center to look at what is it that I'm supposed to do. Am I supposed to go to work 9 to 5? You know, 5 days a week for the rest of my life and totally be disgusted with it? There's an alternative for everyone on this earth because we can manifest our reality, and we do.
And then to get to the end and not even know or understand death, how does that even make sense?
Yeah.
I would ask that as a little girl. That makes no sense. And so in asking that question, what did I receive, Arla? A lot of death. A lot of death surrounded me. So I could watch the process.
Yep.
So I could see the extremes and a lot of it. And I saw every bit of it. And through that, I finally got to the point where, okay, I think I get it. And then it got a little bit more normal again. It got a little bit more in balance.
Yeah. It's
Asked,
just the beginning. It's another beginning. And yes, those of us who are left mourn those that have gone on, but they're in a new beginning now. And you know, that to know that and to understand that is probably one of the most freeing things in the world.
Wonderful. And I celebrate those that can transition. Suffering so badly in 3D. It's congratulations. I just, it really, it is sad to be kind of left behind, so to speak, but you're not. You just have that conditioning of that. And, once you get a grasp of this, you're just like, hey, this is cool stuff. It's not that bad. The pain of it, that's bad. It's not bad. It's bad to watch a person, and it's bad too. That's not a good thing at all. So in Sam and you helping on that level, I applaud that because I think that's an impeccable timing. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I was blessed with a near-death experience.
I was going to ask you, what's the experience that led to the prompting of this?
like what was the experience, or what
You
triggered the
said
experience?
near death, and I just,
Yeah.
did that prompt this, living this and
Yeah.
make it manifest itself?
For the most part. But you know, I didn't know that right away. It just kind of, I gradually got to where I am. Yeah, long story short, I grew up rough, grew up with a rough crowd, whatever. We, normal life was going to shows, go to bars, get in fights. That was like the thing, And then one night I showed up to a knife fight with my fists, and I got stabbed, and saw the other side, and spent 2 weeks in the hospital. I had to get a spinal tap and a bunch of stuff. And what I saw was just beautiful. And I can't, words will never explain or even paint a picture close to what it was, but it was love and light. Just, I mean, I could probably, it would take me an hour to explain it and go into it, but it was really just, it was golden light and love. But every person I've ever met and every person on earth was there, and everyone not on earth, and everyone was there. And it wasn't like you could see them individually, but every person was the light. Every person was there. And it was like, you just knew that they were there. And it was like their spark, their spirit. And each one of those sparks made the light. And it was just love. And I didn't want to come back. Didn't want to do it, but I had to. And so now, as much as like death is a heavy thing here on the physical realm, I know, it's like when my kids have to do something and they're nervous and they just don't know what to expect, but I've done it before. And so I know that they're going to enjoy it. Like, that's how I look at death now. Like this, it's heavy. But where they're going is going to be such a sigh of relief. It's like what Ram Dass says. It's like taking off an old shoe, or a shoe that's too tight. It's just like, So.
You were home.
Yeah.
You were home.
Yep. Exactly.
You came back to finish your story.
Yeah. Yeah. Just had to learn it the hard way.
Oh, that happens.
Yeah.
That's important too. Some of us have to have hard lessons to learn. It's just, yeah. It's just what it is. So this has been an awesome show tonight. We didn't really know. We just knew that there was just so much going on, so many people talking about it. And we just felt like, let's try to bring some light to this, and to be blessed to have Marcia to come and be with us and add to this is really important. We are so blessed to be able to help in whatever way we can help.
Yeah. And
very thankful. And thank you, Marcia, for coming and joining us. We always love having you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I enjoy a good impromptu, because you get your good information.
Yeah.
Just let it unfold. And that's who I am with my creativity. Just let it unfold, and let's see where it goes. And I'm always surprised where it goes, all these little trails that it takes, and it's good. It's good.
Yeah.
And I'm always excited to be a part of this. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for coming on. And yeah, this was good. I love talks like this. This is what I say when I say, like, it just feels like we're sitting around a campfire and we're all just like laying it all out there. I love chats like this. So
I love a good campfire too, so we'll have to do that sometime.
Yeah, definitely.
We'll get down we'll get down there with the goats, and we'll have
and whatever else makes its appearance, but it could be pretty much anything.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I look forward to having another gathering, or just a impromptu thing of, well, guess what, I'm coming. Okay, come on. So, you know, and I have to always promise people that come that Matthew will steam shrimp and make gumbo and and corn on the cob, because he does it so well.
Well, I'm just gonna honk my horn down the driveway and they'll know I'm coming.
Well,
Yeah.
come on. Just give me warning, stay in the car, because the big dog doesn't know she's big.
Even better. Love big dogs. Good thing. Well, thank you guys. Really had fun. That was a good talk. Real good talk.
Yeah, I had fun. All right. Well, it's good to see you guys, and love you. And thank you for everyone watching. And good night.
Good night.
Good night.